Yeah, this isn't as straightforward as we thought it would be a week ago, as crazy as it is. Joe Milton's your quarterback. Uh, Brew McCoy got banged up in that game
Hmm.
against South Carolina. I think he'll be fine. Um,
I don't think he came back at all in the second half, though.
he didn't, and I wondered if it was precautionary or not. But it wasn't a knee or anything. It wasn't, I think it
Yeah.
was like a rib or something.
Yeah.
Um, Nobody asked about it at the press conference today. Not that Heupel would have given a straight answer anyway, but
We'll see where he's at later in the week.
yeah,
That's what his
that's
answer would
all.
have been.
That's what he said about everybody. Danico Slaughter hurt. Brandon Turnage hurt at positions that already stink. Not great. I think you have to play every game, this Vandy game and the bowl game, basically with the assumption that whatever team you play, you have to assume that they're going to be able to pass all over you. I think you just have to. Period. That has to be the assumption. And it's not that I think Vandy's quarterback is going to be some magician, but the possibility is there for any quarterback to be a magician against Tennessee because look at the body of work here. So there's that. I think with Milton, Tennessee should be fine points production wise. It would just be so hard for me to believe that a guy with, at this point, that much experience and that who's so familiar with how everything works, who's also a team leader. He's a backup team leader, and really has kind of taken that role and is one of the best friends to Hendon Hooker and has they've learned together and come up that way. I think the only thing is finesse in short yardage throws, where he just loves launching that football and has a hard time reining that in. But if he can, he had in that South Carolina game a beautiful back shoulder throw for a touchdown to Cedric Tillman in
It's
another.
like fade route from the opposite hash.
Yes.
That throw was the 61-yard throw gets the attention, the square white, which you're probably going to there.
Yeah.
But that fade route from the 30-yard line to Tillman was as impressive as of a throw I've seen him make. Just the accuracy of it and the situation. I mean, with White, you're just chunking it down the field, and White kind of had to wait on a little bit. But that throw to Tillman was great. However, he also missed, I believe it was a Cedric Tillman in the end zone that was wide open by about 10 or 15 feet, it seemed like. And that was a bad miss. And that's the concern.
You have to keep that to an absolute minimum because that's the stuff that goes understated from Hendon Hooker that becomes a glaring problem when it doesn't go right.
Mm-hmm.
Like Milton is so amazing on these giant bomb throws. And then he has, Jalen Hyatt wide open across the middle and he just launches it past him. That's going to stick out. And it's going to be a major problem if he can't get that together. Now, granted, I think Milton has become better in a lot of different ways. Hopefully he is more consistent in that mid-range game. And the big one, he has become a way more aggressive runner. And I think they're going to exploit the hell out of that in this game. I would be very surprised if they don't run him a ton and get him in positions where he can just be a tank out there.
I think he finally realized he's like the size of a defensive end.
Oh, he's huge.
I mean, he could be an edge rusher.
Yeah, he's absolutely massive, and he can just barrel dudes over. So I think they're probably going to run him. Josh Heupel kind of alluded to it today. He didn't say it straight. He got asked about that. Are you going to? I think Price asked him that. Are you going to run him more? And Heupel said, we're gonna do what we got to do. And I think that's what that means. You have to utilize the best parts of this kid, and finesse is not the best part of his game. The best part of his game is bombs over the top, and I think it's going to be strong running. So
we're going to get into a big debate, I think, after this game about whether or not he should be the starting quarterback in 2023. This is the audition, because look, like right now, Tennessee, going in next year, you have Taven Jackson and Nico. Taven hasn't played a lot of football. We don't really know what they have there. Nico's going to be a true freshman. Joe Milton's got a lot of consistency issues. And I tweeted a video of his 2 great throws in that South Carolina game. Some Michigan fans made it into my mentions, and they weren't talking trash about Joe Milton, but they pretty much said, what you're saying about him, all this upside, just got to be consistent. We said it for 3 years. So you got to wonder, is he going to be able to find that consistency? Can he? Vanderbilt, it's going to be 60 minutes. 60 minutes, because we've only seen these small doses, a quarter of action, a couple of drives here and there with, against teams that are getting blown out. We haven't seen him in a competitive game since that Pittsburgh game before he got hurt, or the end of the Ole Miss game, I guess, which was still a very small sample size. So we're going to find out how much progress he's made on Saturday.
Yep. And thankfully, this game comes against the worst defense in the SEC by a pretty decent margin, actually. Vandy is last in scoring defense. They are last in total defense in the SEC by a decent margin. I mean, Tennessee's defense, as bad as it is, I want to say is like better than Vandy's defense by like 50 yards a game. So if that says anything about how bad overall Vandy's defense has been this season, there is that. I think the real threat from them is on the offensive side of the ball. They have a kid that can run, and I think that's got to be a little scary for Tennessee. They've obviously had plenty of problems with running quarterbacks, although I think the real problem comes from a quarterback that can hit you through the air, and Vandy's quarterback against Florida only threw 16 passes and 10 completions for 3 touchdowns and an interception. And then Vandy ran for 175 yards. So Wright was efficient in that game. I think, didn't Florida turn the ball over a couple of times? Like, there was some timely stuff that happened in that game that flipped it in Vandy's favor. And so overall, let's see what Florida went for. Florida threw for 400 yards against Vandy. So that's not a good sign for Vandy. And then they ran for 45. But of course, Florida was behind that entire game and kind of trying to chase. And so I think Tennessee's offense is going to eat once again here, even with Milton at quarterback. And the question comes down to, can you stop this Vanderbilt offense? Which, it's so crazy that Tennessee's defense is that bad that we are saying, can you stop Vanderbilt's offense? But they put up what they put up against Florida, 31. I don't think you can discount that at all. 31 points against Florida. And I would say Florida's defense is probably better than Tennessee's. So maybe not by a giant margin, but, because they've been pretty bad. But can they do it? What do you think, Zach?
The concern with Mike Wright is running the ball, right?
Yep.
I mean, he didn't do much against Florida. They were able to contain him, but Kentucky, he rushed for 126 yards in that game against Kentucky. I mean, that's a big reason why they were able to beat Kentucky. And against Florida, I really don't know. I didn't watch much of that game, and based on his stat line, I don't know how they actually beat Florida, but they did. But they held him a little bit. But Tennessee has not proven that they can stop a running quarterback really this year. Jaden Daniels didn't really try it as much in the LSU game. That was kind of before they turned him loose a little bit. That's the concern. I mean, that's a real concern after watching the South Carolina game last week is can they stop him when he gets, 3rd and 12 and they got good coverage for once and he takes off in the middle of the field? Are you going to be able to stop him and hold him?
I mean, you look at that South Carolina game. Like, I think the defining play of that whole game was the 3rd and 20. Where they were in 3rd and 20, and kind of I think Tennessee was still within striking distance at that point.
Yeah.
And you went, they're going to get this. I don't know how they're going to get it. Yeah. Like there was zero confidence that they could stop a 3rd and 20, a 3rd and 20. So, and I mean, it was just a strike over the middle from, if I'm thinking correctly, just a strike over the middle from Radler to whoever. He threw to like 42 different receivers in that game, and they all had great catches and played well. Again, a miracle performance from them, and congratulations to them. But I mean, dude, do whatever you have to do. I don't know what it is, but I would say pin your ears back and don't let this kid throw. It looks like they're probably not going to try to throw that much. Well, I don't know. I say that they should. So actually, maybe they will. But and I don't know how much confidence they have in Wright to deliver even against Tennessee. Because Levis looked like total garbage against Tennessee. They can play defense against the quarterback. when they really put their mind to it. I don't know. It has happened this season against the kid from LSU. They play great defense against that kid. So it can happen. But will it? Which defense will show up? The one from the Kentucky game, or the one
does Jeremy Bates play? Does Jeremy Bates play? I mean, that's going to be huge. I mean,
sounds like he's gonna.
Regardless of whatever happened, you need him to stop Mike Wright. You need him to be out there to do some of that. And as bad as the defense did play, we've talked about that a lot. I think we should point out that Aaron Beasley played really well for Tennessee on Saturday night. He was the one player that seemed like he really did show up, made a couple of really nice plays and gotten some gaps and stopped some runs from happening. Hopefully that same energy is there with the entire defense on Saturday night against Vanderbilt.
Fall is in the air, and that means fall grilling with cookouts, tailgate parties, and so much more. Luckily, the flavor experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to savor all the flavors of fall with their mouthwatering assortments of perfectly aged steaks, ultra juicy burgers, and easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. And now is the perfect time to load up on all this incredible flavor and take advantage of 50% off site-wide by shopping their Friends and Family sale. Go to omahasteaks.com and use my promo code VOLS, that is VOLS, at checkout and get $30 off your order. And guys, I've said it in these ads for weeks now. I've had all of the stuff from Omaha Steaks. I can't endorse it enough. Everything has been high quality. It comes right to your door, so easy and convenient. And I mean, most importantly, tasty. So I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. So don't wait. Go to omahasteaks.com and stock up today. Omaha Steaks isn't just steak. It's the best steak of your life, guaranteed. And don't forget to score that extra $30 off your order when you use VOLS at checkout, VOLS. Omaha Steaks is perfect for those chilly and busy fall nights. You won't come close to getting this kind of quality at the grocery store. Visit omahasteaks.com. Promo code VOLS at checkout. Minimum order may be required. Omaha Steaks. I mean, this game, even with Milton, does set up decently well for Tennessee, but it just, so much trust was lost last week. Like, yep. That's I think what a saying that really applies this week is what is it? You can gain trust in an instant. Or what is it? You can
years to gain trust.
Years to gain trust, and you can lose it in an instant. They lost it. I mean, it's just on the defensive side of the ball. The offense, I think Hype will get it figured out. Even if Milton has some overthrows, I think he's better than he was last year. I think he'll be more composed. I think that road environment, I mean, it's going to be 50% Tennessee fans, if not more. And so
I think they'll run the ball a lot.
The what? I
think they'll run the ball quite a bit.
Tennessee
in there, yeah.
Yes, I do too. And but on that point though, I mean, Vandy's run defense is certainly their strong suit. Their pass defense, the only pass defense in the SEC that is worse is Tennessee's. They both give up 303 yards per game. Tennessee gives up 303.4 and Vandy gives up 303.3.
And I don't know if I can handle like a 55 to 52 game against Vanderbilt.
Please no. Figure out a way. I don't know what it is. Figure it out. If you have to blitz like your life depends on it, if you have to, I mean, what even is there to do? And Vandy has Shepard, this kid Shepard, who's a pretty good wide receiver. He's one of the best wide receivers in the SEC statistically this season. And Wright can run, and they're going to be able to do stuff against you. They just are. This defense is that bad. Vandy is not a given because of how bad this defense is. And I think the real key to me about winning this game, you got to get up early. You have to, if you're going to make any stops, make sure it's the first two drives of the game and get up 14-0, 17-0, 21-0, and then work from there. You can then give up everything you want to, but as long as you get a couple of touchdowns ahead and then they're chasing you, I think you're in a good position. Because, I mean, if you get behind, how can we trust this defense at this point, that this defense is going to hold up at all and get the game back in their control? I don't trust it. I just don't, and I can't. How would you after that last week? How could I do that? It just is. They blew that trust sky high, And it's obviously imperative. We already talked about how big this game is and the scope of Josh Heupel's time at Tennessee. But I ultimately, I do think the scales are in Tennessee's favor. But it's just not that easy. It's not going to be that easy.
No, it's definitely not. But hopefully, with some of the pressure off, they'll get back to being themselves.
Hopefully. Well,
man,
let's predict this game. We're almost at hour 30. And to anybody watching, we're going to give our predictions and then throw your predictions over here, and we'll read them out, and we'll get everybody's input about what they think is going to happen in this game against Vandy this week, and if Josh Heupel can finish off the 10-2 season like we all hope that he does. So throw in your prediction in the comments wherever you may be watching, and Zach and I will give ours, and I'll throw it to you. What's going to happen?
Well, every game this year, except for the South Carolina game, I've went into it saying I'm not really sure what to expect from this game because we're still kind of learning how this Tennessee team operates and who they are. Against South Carolina, for the first time this year, I felt like Tennessee was going to blow them out. I was concerned a little bit about the environment in Columbia, but even with that, I still predicted them to win by 30-some points. So back to not sure what to expect. I just think Tennessee's got too much talent. I think with Jeremy Banks back, I think this team will be hungry. I think listening to them today, they know what's at stake. They know they want to go to a New Year's Six Bowl. They don't want to lose to Vanderbilt. They want to go out the right way. They want to honor Hendon Hooker. I think they'll show up to play. I think they'll be a lot better. I still think they'll give up some points. I think they'll win 41-27.
41-27?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good, and that's pretty much what I'm thinking. I think this isn't Tennessee's favor enough. I think Joe Milton will have a good game, throw for 250 and probably run for 75. I'm gonna guess, and then I think Jabari will have a nice game. Maybe Jalen, maybe Dylan Sampson. I don't know. We didn't see him almost at all in that South Carolina game, although he did play some. So. I think between all of them, Tennessee is able to do this. It is still Vanderbilt. I don't know how they beat. I could totally imagine them beating Kentucky, and I watched a decent chunk of that game. But I like you didn't really watch them beat Florida. I'm not sure exactly how that went. I think Florida made some mistakes and Vandy capitalized. So hey, all credit to them. But I think still at the end of the day, Tennessee, even after this game, is the number one offense in America statistically, and Joe Milton is taking that over. Tillman looked like he may have tweaked something again, at least, just looked a little shaky in that game. I wonder if they go back to Hyatt at number one. If Brew McCoy plays, we don't really know. There's some questions on offense, but I think even with all of that, it's actually what Nug says right here. I do think Heupel runs the ball a lot in this game, maybe 35 plus rush attempts. I completely agree, and I think they succeed in that. I think it's going to be bombs over the top because Milton is so good at that, and a lot of runs. So I think through that, I'm going to go 39-31 Tennessee.
Ooh, okay.
It'll be close. One score, a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. But Tennessee pulls it out, and we're stressed, and we go, it shouldn't be this hard against Vandy, dang it. And then Tennessee wins, and they close out the 10-2 season, and then Joe Milton can have time to get ready for that bowl game, and hopefully a big win over a nice opponent. And we'll break down the whole bowl thing if they can go 10-2 this week. I think it's just too early. It's like we're not doing a radio show where we have to fill time. Like, let's see if they win 10 games first, and then we can go from there, because that's going to be the whole thing. If you lose this game, your bowl outlook changes completely. So enough of that speculation, and we'll go from there next week. So let's see what everybody said here in the comments. If they agree with us.
I think people are forgetting a little bit about the history of some of this Vanderbilt rivalry, because they're talking about it's awful keeping it that close against Vanderbilt. There's a lot of Philip Fulmer games that were pretty close against Vanderbilt. A lot of 14-7, 17-10 type games when Peyton Manning was there. And even after Peyton was there, before they lost in 05, they played some close games. I think Ainge was hurt that year, but I think that was like a 5-point game in 04 when they won 10 games. So This series, it's a rivalry. They get up for it, and sometimes it's a close game, and that's not a bad thing. It's not anything bad about Tennessee. It's just Vanderbilt showed up to play.
You don't want this to end with Vandy doing the most polite field rush of all time, like they did last week, where they literally walked down the steps and walked slowly onto the field in the most Vanderbilt fashion possible.
I can't believe they rushed the field after beating South Carolina. Rushed the field after beating Tennessee. A team
that was weird.
They've beat pretty consistently in Columbia. It almost feels like they're doing it for recruiting purposes. Like I don't want this to sound the way it's going to sound, but I feel like after Tennessee did it against Alabama, it got so much attention that other people were just kind of like, yeah, we need something like that too.
It looked really great. That environment was insane in Neyland, and yeah, it is good for recruiting. So
yeah, it was a good environment in Williams-Brice Saturday night too. That looked. I mean, if you're a South Carolina fan, that's as good as it gets there for you. I mean, and it was a great environment, and we'll probably play well for them in recruiting.
Yeah, I'm sure. So Matthew says 56-24 Tennessee. Nug says Tennessee wins. I won't predict a score. Could be by 50. Could be by 1. Mr.
Probably
Jones,
very accurate.
Yeah,
I feel the same.
I feel the same way. It really could be either one of those. Mr. Jones says 48-17 Vols. Dylan says I've got UT winning by 10 plus. Michael says Tennessee 42, Vandy 27. Ed says 45-10 Vandy. He's a Vandy fan, maybe in the comments there. And 65-35 Tennessee because we are pissed and ready to win. I hope so. I really, really hope so. So thanks to everybody for watching, for commenting, for hanging out, and for just supporting the show.